Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today, from the Fantasy Flight Games event center itself, I'm pleased to present a game showcasing our latest competitive darling against the established tournament powerhouse. To the left, we have Adam Koshorek, whom is piloting our latest Astra Militarum faction warlord Broderick Worr, and to the right, a gentleman whom was kind enough to send me in this footage, we see Christopher Dale Bates piloting his trademark Packmaster Kith, the first Dark Eldar warlord whom has definitely risen to competitive prominence. Broderick starts the game off with initiative, and his opening deploy action is positioning a copy of Void Pirate at planet number 5, 1 cost, 1 command icon, plus 1 card bonus, and Chris responds to that move by throwing a not glare resistant copy of Incubus Warrior 2, planet number 5, 2 cost, 2 command icons, 3 attack, 1 hit point, and in Broderick's HQ, we see a copy of the 2-cost support, Catachan Outpost. As a combat action, you simply exhaust it, you pick one of your units, and for that unit's next individual attack, it gets a temporary +2 attack value bonus. So monumentally threatening, and considering Broderick would dearly love to combine that with the likes of Preemptive Barrage to bloody Kith, that could be a pretty fantastic inclusion, and interesting to generally go with that over Inquisitorial Fortress. But planet number 4 for Chris, we've got a copy of Rogue Trader. It's the resource bonus accruing brethren of the Void Pirate, so another 1 command icon unit, and similar-ish to that Incubus Warrior, we've got a copy of Iron Guard Recruits, another AM faction unit, this time thrown out to planet number 4. So both of our players have got 2 command icon units trumping the 1 command icon economy unit of their enemy, and the Iron Guard Recruits, because they're stationed at a green planet, they're going to be able to attack for a grand total of 2. Kith threw out a copy of her signature Chimera Masters to planet number 2, so for the cost of 2, it's a 1 command icon, 1 hit point, 1 attack, 2 hit point unit that generates a 2/1 creature trait Chimera token. Chris remembers that in any good game of Conquest, you generally play with a Warlord, and therefore he finally remembers to put Kith upon the tabletop. Perhaps we'll have to grant Adam a spiritual victory by default, just because Kith happened to show up late to this party. But regardless, both of our players are probably deciding where exactly they want to either deploy additional units or send their warlords during command. Note, army units at the same planet as Broderick cannot retreat, and all AM units you control at green strongpoint planets get +1 attack, and they can't retreat, and they're immune to the likes of Archon's Terror. There's not a huge number of green planets on the board, but they're what you would expect. 6 out of the 10 planets are green, and we see 3 out of the 5 currently green. Planets 2, 3, and 4, and I'll be curious to see if Adam decides to go for those as his victory condition. Looks like at the very far end of the table, planet number 1, Kith, as her final deploy action, throws out a copy of the Warlock Destructor, which for the cost of 2 is going to be a 3/4 unit with a command icon. Note, wherever Kith shows up, she's going to generate a Chimera token herself, and both of these warlords happen to be 2 6s. That Warlock Destructor, each and every deploy phase, you've got a forced reaction where you're required to pay up an additional resource to the extortionist there, or you are forced to discard it. So Broderick is going to show up at planet number 5. He's going to basically guarantee that he'll earn that card bonus for himself. He'll be able to kill that copy of Incubus Warrior unless Kith has a 2 shield value card. And it looks like Kith has arrived to planet number 1 amidst a pile of glare, and she generates a Chimera token at that location. At planet number 3, we've got a copy of the Anxious Infantry Platoon, the signature army unit of Broderick Worr. Planet number 1 is going to be a total of 1 card, 1 resource to the right there for Chris. Note, it's going to be Aatrox Prime added to his victory display, so it's a red, it's a blue, and it's also going to be a point of damage dealt to an adjacent planet or the enemy HQ, but there are no eligible targets at either the adjacent planet or wherever he can target with that. Planet number 3 is going to be a resource added to Adam's bank of tokens, and planet number 4 is going to be a card added to Adam's hand there. At planet number 5, this is very interesting. That's 2 resources and a card there for Adam, but Broderick takes a swing. Raid is going to be discarded as shield. That means that Broderick does not kill the Incubus Warrior. The Incubus Warrior takes a swing, manages to kill off that copy of the Void Pirate, and interestingly, the Incubus Warrior did not attempt to damage Broderick, but instead, it just tried to kill off the enemy economy unit there, that Void Pirate, and now... basically, Broderick gets to pick and choose what enemy unit to rout, and I believe he has chosen the Kith's Chimera Masters to be thrown into Chris's HQ. So kind of the crappy thing about this is now, even though Broderick could have taken 3 points of damage, note that there is Iridial on the board, which could have stripped points of damage away from Broderick, and in killing off that Void Pirate, it means that... Adam is going to have to play an additional unit to that not green planet to be able to win command at that planet, and of course he's also going to be missing out on the card bonus associated with that Warlord, or sorry, with the Void Pirate of his. So some very interesting top tier play there from Chris. Players such as myself would have probably been pretty strongly tempted to attack Broderick, but instead Chris just dealt a bit of economy damage, dealt a bit of economy damage to Adam, and then decided to retreat at the end of the combat round there, jettisoning his troops from that planet. And now what exactly are we going to see? Looks like Kith is still a ways away from a victory condition, but we could see this game conclude as early as planet number 3 if Kith manages to take our current planet number 1 and then reinforce planet number 2, where sits that anxious infantry platoon, and that platoon is going to be stationed at a planet where Adam possesses initiative. And this is an interesting couple of plays here. So I imagine Chris must have by now paid to keep his Warlock Destructor in play. He has thrown out a copy of the Void Pirate of his own to planet number 4, but it's going to be responded to by a Sanctioned Psyker, a 0/4 2-command icon unit for 2 cost at that same planet, but Chris tosses out a copy of Incubus Warrior. Again, it could potentially attack for 3, and that means 3 command icons manages to beat 2, and therefore that's going to be a card and 2 resources associated with that planet. And if Broderick decides to go to that planet again, he could try to do the same thing as before to try to kill off that Incubus Warrior, but I'll just be very curious to see exactly how things end up getting resolved. It looks to me suspiciously like Broderick has only got 2 cards remaining in hand, and therefore if he's not going to be able to reinforce that first planet, maybe Adam is going to forfeit it to Chris. In regard to where exactly Chris would want to go, I could see him showing up at 2, just because that is an eventual victory condition for him, and if, I guess, Archon's Terror is not going to be able to remove the Anxious Infantry platoon from that planet, and now a second copy of Catachan Outpost entering play means that that single platoon could potentially swing at Packmaster Kith for 8, if Kith is not going to be able to kill it, and of course as Kith is going to be the only unit arriving at that planet exhausted should she be commit there, really all that she can hope to do is swing at it for 2, and then there's no Dark Eldar version of Indomitable or something. Kith isn't a Cabalite, she's not going to be able to equip like a Shadowed Thorns bodysuit or anything along those lines, so it's looking pretty interesting for Chris. He could go for planet number 1 because he'd be basically guaranteed to win at that planet. He could go to, I guess, planet number 3, but I guess really the options are open for him at this point because his opponent has yet to pick up a single planet, so he could pick up another blue technology icon at planet 1, he could pick up another icon at planet 3, so I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see Kith arrive at planet 3. Broderick could go to planet number 1 and kill off that Chimera token. I don't think Chris is going to have enough resources to toss out like a Clavex War Leader, which in and of itself could pose a significant bit of a threat to Broderick, but will Chris go to 1 this turn, and will he go to planet 3 the following round? I suppose that kind of remains to be seen. At planet number 5, Chris threw out another copy of a glare-laden Kith's Chimera Masters. That's, again, a 1/2 unit, but he's got another Chimera token at that planet. I wouldn't have been shocked to see Broderick arrive at planet number 5, but it looks like instead Broderick is once again going to go for that route move at 4 to make sure that he wins at that planet, blocks off his opponent from drawing a card, and Kith instead is going to arrive at planet number 1 to be able to win that entirely uncontested and potentially to just shift one of her units to planet number 3, or maybe even planet number 2 if she's feeling incredibly ballsy, but I don't really foresee that happening, so let's say planet number 3, but I guess it kind of remains to be seen. She could also just decide to save her Incubus Warrior and set her Incubus Warrior up at next round's planet number 2. So plenty of different options here, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see either thing occur. But planet number 1 is going to be Planum, captured by Chris. He's currently deciding. Looks like all right. So he's going to be bold, and there we go. That's going to be the Warlock Destructor move to planet number 4 to try to prevent our AM player from winning that planet. But of course, Worr himself could swing for 6 thanks to those outposts. So there's, this is going to be a very interesting thing. We'll have to see how this ends up being resolved here. So Broderick Worr took a swing. He kills the Incubus Warrior, unaugmented by any kind of effect. Both of our players are going to attack with their 0 units, and that's going to be the end of a combat round here. So command struggles real quick. Planet number 1, that was going to be for Chris, a card and a resource. The Sanctioned Psyker there, looks like that must have been a suppressive fire, knocking out that Warlock Destructor. Planet number 2, by the way, would have been a resource to the left for Adam. Broderick Worr successfully deals out 2 points of damage to the Warlock Destructor. Interesting indeed that he's not choosing to use those Catachan outposts, but of course he's got initiative. And at the end of a combat round there, that Void Pirate retreats. Planet number 3 is going to be a total of 1 card to the left for Adam. Planet number 4, of course, is going to be 2 resources for Adam, and planet number 5 is 2 resources to the right for Chris. So Broderick attacks, and once again, for some inexplicable reason, we do not see the Warlock Destructor destroyed thanks to those Catachan outposts, and I can't really imagine what was staying Adam's hand. He's got 2 of them, and now he's, thanks to the timely discard of an Archon's Terror, his Broderick Worr was unable to kill that Warlock Destructor, and now that's going to be Broderick taking 2 points of damage because of what must have been a discarded shield card that occurred off screen, and therefore we did not see it. Looks like we just decide to let that Warlock Destructor die, and that is going to be a routed Kith's Chimera Masters, and I see what he's going for, but all the same, that is going to be just yet another unit sitting positioned at our current planet number 2. So this is a very interesting game thus far. I can't exactly... it seems like Adam is chuckling about something, and perhaps it's that he forgot to use those Catachan outposts. It just seems like a needless having 2 points of damage on Broderick Worr here. But regardless, this is a tournament. This is a store championship at the Fantasy Flight Games Event Center this was taken at. So definitely, everybody's in try-hard mode for sure. So the initiative once again looks like it's in the possession of Broderick Worr. Broderick Worr really must want that first planet because he deploys another copy of Anxious Infantry Platoon at that planet. He's got 2 Catachan outposts in play. If we were to see a preemptive barrage used, if Broderick were to show up that planet like a baller, that would be an attack of 6 and an attack of 6 and an attack of, I guess, 2, or more wisely, you'd probably do 4, 4, and 6 because warlords are just trickier to deal with. But regardless, it's a ton of firepower potentially being preemptive barraged out at planet number 1. But note that Chris has decided to throw a copy of Siren Ziflex at planet number 2. What does that mean? Why, my dear viewers? Feel free to turn on a bit of a spoiler warning here. I can only imagine what it means is that Chris is going to send his Warlord to planet number 2. He doesn't want any Astra Militarum units being deployed to planet number 2 to be deployed unexhausted, and therefore, there we go, that's going to be Engine Seer Augur, exhausted, a 2/2 for 2. It doesn't matter if it could potentially dump troop transports onto the table. I mean, that does matter, but, all the Guardsman tokens being put into play in the world are going to mean little if each and every one of your army units is going to be just exhausted, and if all of Chris's stuff shows up, and then it doesn't have to worry about being picked apart the first combat round, that is just going to be fantastic. So Siren Ziflex, 3 cost, 2 command icons, 2/3 units. Looks like Chris to the right there threw out a copy of Pact of the Homunculi. He sacrifices a unit. I believe it was a Kith's Chimera Masters he discarded. The opponent does a forced random discard. I believe it was a suppressive fire. And then Chris draws a couple of cards himself. Our new 5th planet is going to be Elowith. Looks like we've got a copy of Slith Mercenary at that planet. There are a hell of a lot of resource tokens in play, but I could only imagine that Chris did that preferably after Adam has already passed. So Slith Mercenary is a 1 cost, 2 command icon, 2/2, but you can buy it for 2 resources, but you don't have an action until after command struggles are resolved. So either Broderick is going to have to show up to planet number 5 to win a couple of cards for himself, and he doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of cards in hand, or Otherwise, he's just going to have to wait until after Chris draws a couple of cards from that planet to purchase control of the Slith Mercenary, which he probably, it would be advisable to do so. So I predict Chris is going to show up at planet number 2. Where exactly will Broderick Worr go? I could see Broderick showing up at planet 3 or 4. I guess if he were to go to 2, that would probably be a pretty poor life choice, just considering Packmaster Kith is going to be showing up at that planet. But all in all, it may not be the worst idea in the world, because currently he's got initiative, and if he has Broderick arrive, he could at least take a swing of 6 at Kith to try to bloody her, but considering planet number 2 is going to be Iridial, that wouldn't really do anything, because even a 1 shield value card could preserve the carapace of Packmaster Kith, and then at the end of the combat, all of her damage would be whisked away. So to no one's surprise, looks like Kith shows up at planet number 2, but to my surprise, looks like Broderick Worr arrives at planet number 1, and that is just going to be wildly unnecessary. So like I said, I could have seen 4 or 5 would have made much more sense in my mind. You could have drawn an additional card of the top of, your deck, and that would have been awesome. Or you could have stolen a resource from Kith, who doesn't have a whole lot of resources at the moment. But planet number 1 is going to be a resource to the left for Adam. Planet number 2 is going to be a card to the right and a resource to the right for Chris. I can't discern any additional economy units. No, there's a Void Pirate at that planet as well, so that's let's call that an additional card for Chris. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 resources for our Astra Militarum faction player, and planet number 5 is going to be a couple of cards there for Chris. Planet number 1 is going to be Yvarn. It looks like that's going to be 1 planet type icon of each kind, material, technology, and strong point added to the victory display of Adam Koshorek there, but it may come at quite a formidable cost, because he's about to be picked apart at planet number 2. Broderick Worr bounces to the HQ. Yvarn is not triggered. Neither AM nor DE decks generally run very expensive units, so if you're not really going to get a lot of value out of that, looks like some unit has taken a swing. A discarded card has been, well, a shield card has been discarded, and that means that the Iron Guard recruits are only going to take a single point of damage. Note that they're at a green planet, therefore they cannot be routed, and this is going to be a swing of 6. The Iron Guard recruits, what are they going to take an attack at? They could potentially bloody Packmaster Kith, but I would imagine that's going to be monumentally unlikely, and therefore it seems like it would be a complete waste in order to do so. That is going to be Siren Zithlex destroyed. That would have been the ideal target to go for, because this is going to be the victory condition planet here for Chris, and if he's able to set himself up well, like if this following round, if all the AM units were to arrive, play exhausted, and then they'd just be not cannibalized because they're different races or species or whatever you want to call it. I guess the Dark Eldar are very different than the Umis. So regardless, Siren Zithlex was the appropriate choice, but the Iron Guard recruits are going to be picked apart. AM units cannot retreat, and therefore this is going to be a bit of a death sentence. That is going to be a dead Iron Guard recruits, and will our AM player get lucky? Will he get Troop Transport? Will he get Inquisitorial Fortress? Will he be monumentally lucky, and will he stumble upon a copy of Forward Barracks? Looks like the answer is no. Looks like he accidentally placed a copy of Rattling Deadeye out onto the tabletop, and unfortunately that is not going to be a 2 or lower cost Astra Militarum support. That is a 2 or lower cost Astra Militarum faction unit. There we go. So Forward Barracks is an ever so slightly more powerful card than Rattling Deadeye, so given the choice between the two, I suppose I'd be happy to see Forward Barracks. That means at the end of each and every combat round, provided you've got an AM unit at that planet, whether it's your Warlord, a token, an army unit, or God forbid we ever see some sort of Tyrannid AM hybrid and see an Astra Militarum faction Synapse unit, regardless of whatever the case may be, you put a Guardsman token into play. It's at a green planet, therefore it's a 2/2, it can't retreat, can't be routed, it's going to have the soldier traits, so you could Elysian Assault team off of it, you could use Captain Marcus to sacrifice those guys, and it looks like we've actually got some Elysian Assault teams in our AM player's hands. So he's going to have to show up at planet number 1, and he's going to have to withstand a large volume of punishment if he hopes to overcome just the might and fortitude of Packmaster Kith assembling at planet number 1. That is a large volume of Chimera tokens at that planet. It looks like that is going to be Honorifica Imperialis affixed to one of these units, and that's definitely not something you see every day, but if memory serves, for the cost of 2, you attach it to a unit, and at the same planet as sits an enemy Warlord, it's got Armor Bane and ranged, but it's going to be showing up exhausted, and therefore that is not going to do a whole hell of a lot, and if there was a single copy to pick off, it's going to be prioritizing the destruction of that one above and beyond before the other copy. So Worr could show up at planet number 1, but then he's going to be putting himself at risk. I wouldn't be terribly surprised, I guess, to see Worr send himself to planet number 5, but what Worr should be doing is he should be purchasing control of that copy of Slith Mercenary just to earn another couple of cards for himself. If I were Worr, I'd probably send my Warlord to planet 3, just to shut off the opponent's attack, or not attack bonus, their card bonus, block a couple of resources, just because I really don't want Packmaster Kith to pick up another couple of resources and potentially be at that threshold where she could play Clavex War Leader. And I am very sorry, I happen to space the fact that Broderick Worr has an HQ full of units, so obviously his only cogent decision would have been going to planet number 1 with his Warlord. He should have purchased that Slith Mercenary, but just owing to the kind of unusual angle of this video and kind of the difficult to see cards and whatnot, I'll just chalk my obvious mistake there up to that. But Broderick arrives at planet number 1. That means Kith is going to win a total of 2 cards and 1 resource at planet number 1. Planet number 2 is going to be 2 resources for Adam. Planet number 3 is going to be a couple of resources and a card to the right for Packmaster Kith, and planet number 4 is going to be a couple of cards for Packmaster Kith. Adam has got a whole hell of a lot of resources going, unfortunately, unspent, and if he'd have purchased control of that Slith Mercenary, maybe he'd have gotten Preemptive Barrage, maybe he'd have got Emperor's Warrant or something, some sort of shield card, some sort of mid-combat trick. Maybe he even runs 2 arms in his deck if he's bothering to run Catachan outposts in the first place. But looks like Packmaster Kith is going to possess initiative, and that is going to be an Incubus Warrior delivering an attack of 3 directly at Broderick Worr. Are we going to see a shield card or not? What exactly do we have in the hand of our AM player? We've got forward barracks, but we've only got 2 units at that planet. We don't have troop transport to reinforce that planet, and even though Kith doesn't have a tremendous number of units, she's still got quite a bit of firepower she can bring to bear in those Chimera Masters, in that those 4 Chimera tokens, and of course Kith herself and the Incubus Warrior. Looks like we do not see a shield card discarded. We're going to see both copies of Catachan Outpost. No, it looks like, okay, so maybe that was a 2 arms, maybe that's going to be a swing of 8. Yeah, so I can only imagine that's going to be a swing of 8. Kith is going to be bloodied, so Kith is evicted from that planet, but at what cost? Well, I guess basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not sure Broderick's going to be able to do anything to get himself out of this one. That is going to be a Kith's Chimera Masters taking an almighty swing of 1. That is going to be a bloodied Broderick Worr. Unfortunately, of course, Elysian Assault Team is not going to be able to key off Broderick Worr being bloodied. I believe that's when a soldier leaves play is the phrasing. Maybe it's destroyed, but I think it's leaves play. But regardless, a bloodied Warlord is not leaving play. I guess we've got those Elysian Assault Teams on the table, and I think our players are trying to have a little bit of a chat here. So I guess regardless, maybe Chris is just being a good sport and letting his opponent keep those assault teams, but it looks like they're able to, not, yes, so there we go, a little bit of a sloppy ending there, but regardless, like proper sirs, they finished the match. Adam Koshorek is unfortunately not the victor. Christopher Dale Bates was able to reign triumphant, but of course, in this community, we definitely want to be accepting of players of any and all skill levels, whether they're new to the game or whether Adam was simply maybe had too much Red Bull that day, who knows, but regardless, it was a hell of a game. Thank you, viewers, for watching. A monumental thank you to Christopher Christopher Dale Bates for sending in another fantastic bit of footage, and it's always a treat to get something from the FFG Event Center itself. So, viewers, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. What are you doing watching this channel if you aren't already subscribed? Remember that every bit of engagement helps promote this game. It means more people are going to be stumbling upon Conquest LCG, and more players means that our community continues to grow, and Fantasy Flight Games continues to develop and research and continue to produce this fantastic product. If you ever want to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook and Twitter, and if you ever feel like supporting the Hive Tyrant, I would be absolutely honored were you to donate maybe $1 or $2 on a strictly monthly basis to my Patreon. It does wonders in helping me to recover some of my file hosting and operating expenses, and each and every additional dollar is reinvested in this channel to improve the audio and video quality. And of course, if you're not in touch with me on Facebook, be sure to keep up with all the latest updates and news coming out of this channel and interact with me there. So it's always a delight to interact with you viewers. Thank you for watching, and once again, as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.